Hey guys at the Reevolution podcast, Maurice and Rhino. Um, yeah, I've been following the show and the podcast, and I say, first want to say that uh, great job so far on the podcast, and I hope you guys get better. Seen some things that I mentioned about the echo and stuff being improved upon, and there are still some things I guess that could be still enhanced or perfected on your end to make the show more appealing. And uh, one thing I would like to suggest, maybe shorten the show a bit. I mean, because the things you have a lot of things to say. That's true. I understand that, and you want to have a lot of possible ideas thrown out there to have a dialogue with your audience, and that's good. But having podcasts that are longer than or near as long as the episode itself is kind of, I don't know, kind of, counterintuitive or whatever. So, I mean, yeah, so that's the only suggestion I have as far as the production end of the show. Now, I want to answer your first question, and I saw it, and it came to my mind at the moment I saw it in the show, which is about the sketch in Rachel's journal. What that is a dynamo, which is a mechanical device that can create electrical current through the use of turbines or what have you. If you go to Wikipedia and type in dynamo, the very first thing you'll see is that exact sketch in the little picture thing they provide. So, yeah. It's a dynamo, and apparently Ben, or whoever he's working with, maybe Rachel herself, is trying to build one, or at least figure out a way how to build one with what they have. And I think the buttons, the pendants, are going to become a important aspect to that. So yeah, alright. And let's see. The second question: how long has Rachel been with Bass? Well, it seems to me that she's been with Bass. Let's see. According to that flashback with younger Charlie in it, I think she was probably in there maybe 6 years. She seems about 10 or so. So yeah, that's my guess on that. And the interesting thing you mentioned is about the lemons. I'm sure there wouldn't be as much as a on mass product or distribution. I'm sorry, distribution of lemons throughout the United States, or the former United States, or whatever, because lack of the means to do so. But lemons or any citrus fruit is kind of versatile, and when they can grow naturally in most areas of the United States. I don't know about in the Indiana area per se, so I can't really say on that part. Here, find a question. Oh, about the Wizard of Oz connections. I didn't really pay attention to it as that much. I mean, the only thing I connected was the tornado part. But yeah. All right. Also, I want to say a few things outside of those questions. I think the scene, the flashback where Rachel leaves Ben and the others behind to apparently surrender herself to Miles and the militia. I think Ben knew that she was going to do it, because he wouldn't have. I don't think he would have, restrained them that hardly, because if they were just going for supplies, I would think they would go together. I mean, I couldn't imagine a scenario where simply going for supplies would be so dangerous, that yet not dangerous enough to have one person go by herself. So I think Ben knew what she was doing. Of course, why she was doing it, is going to be, I'm sure, going to be answered later in the series, and that's another question for later. um, Secondly, let's see. Miles, I think, in terms of how the whole Monroe Republic got started, I think you're right about the whole Monroe's is sticking behind him because he knew that, he's Ben's brother and that Ben contacted him just before the lights went out. So he's just sticking along until he can figure out what's going on and use it to his advantage because the whole point of Monroe going after Ben and his family is to get the power turned back on, but in such a way where he can control it and have, world domination type thing going on. Okay, and as for the Captain Neville Danny dynamic, I think I'm going to predict, and I don't think I'm as good as you guys are, but I'm going to predict that Captain Neville becomes a sort of surrogate father character in respect to Danny because he already, some of that's already ingrained into him as a part of protecting him to make sure he arrives to Monroe alive. But as the two interact more, and especially after Danny saved his life, even though at that moment Neville still, put him in handcuffs and took him back into his custody as his prisoner, I still think that as they develop the relationship between the two, Neville will probably have some sort of kind of like a flip flop. I don't know what the technical term is, but where he will eventually go against his orders to protect Danny. Maybe to even Monroe himself, but I know that's kind of a bold prediction to make, but I'm sticking by it. Yeah, because I kind of like Captain Neville as far as his character goes. He's very well developed, and the actor that portrays him does it very well as well. And he kind of reminds me of the Hans Lander character in Inglourious Bastards, where he was the cold hunter or tracker or whatever. But yeah, and I think sure, you can argue that at that moment he was using Danny's respect for his own father so that Danny would save him from the collapsing building, but I would argue that Danny also has some respect for him because Captain Neville protects him from the other soldiers. He listens to Danny in most occasions, and he treats him like an almost equal. If it weren't for the fact that he was required to be kept alive, I'm sure Captain Neville would have killed him the moment he saw him. But in this situation, I think the two are going to influence each other greatly to where they're going to be more interconnected to one another, and I think it's going to play out to a greater effect throughout the series. And okay, and also agree about Charlie's character, because Charlie, I don't know if it's the actor or the way she's written, but she is all over the place. One moment she's trying to be the hard ass, I'm in charge person. Next she's the whiny little girl that wants to get her way, or I guess both of those are kind of the same. But and then she's like suddenly emotional but not emotional at the same time. It's really weird. I can't really pinpoint Charlie as far as that goes. And the fact that she's kind of like the central character in this show is the only thing that turns me off about this show, because I'm more interested in the grand scale and the development of the show and the surroundings about it and all that stuff. I find Miles to be more appealing in that respect because he's the one that's actually going through changes, and I don't see Charlie changing at all as much. So far, she's remained a immature, selfish brat, and I believe she will remain so throughout the entire series. Because the fact that she turned a very mournful death of Maggie into something about her, without any regards to Maggie herself, really. That she turned everything about it into her own part in the situation, which really disgusted me about it. And one more thing I would like to say about the show is, like, I would like to see some militia on militia combat, because they mentioned there's multiple militias throughout the country, and just like any forming nation that's struggling to survive, there's going to be territorial conflicts, and I don't know how far the Monroe Republic spans, but I think it would be interesting to see some other militias entered into the fray, not necessarily as a main plot point or whatever of the show, but just to show that there is other militias out there, and that Monroe isn't the only game in town, and so forth. One thing I want to note, you guys mentioned about Danny's ability to, predict that a tornado was coming or whatever. I think that knowledge came from his father, because it sounded like something that, like, Ben would have taught him. I don't think Danny would have been able to learn that himself, but it's a talent or a skill that Ben has taught him. And in terms of skills in general, I think the group is going to be hard pressed now, since the doctor is no more. It seems Nora has some medical abilities, because she knows how chemicals work and stuff in certain ways. So, but I think unless they come across another person with a high level of medical abilities, then they're going to be hard pressed to, they're going to have to be either more careful or more selective of where they go and where they stop and stuff, and how often they engage in battle, maybe. So yeah, I think we're going to see more switch from active combat maybe to more of ducking and dodging, stealth kind of movement. So yeah, with all that said, great job with the podcast so far, guys. Like to see how you guys take it, and how you improve it. And I'll be watching the Reevolution show and your podcast as the series goes. So yeah, keep up the good work, guys. Thumbs up here, thumbs up there. So yeah. See you guys.